Stampers, this is Trevis. Welcome to Video Friday. And so today what we're going to make today is we're not really going to make cards, we're just going to do some techniques. And what I thought would be fun would be to play with the decorative masks. So these 5 decorative masks come in the new annual catalog, and they are called Artistic Mix. Okay, so you get all 5 of these in the package, and they're plastic, they are cleanable, and they are fun. So, but people often ask me, what do I do with these? I mean, I see you use them occasionally, but I don't really know something different to do with them. And so today we're going to play with a lot of different techniques, and I'm going to try to make it a little faster than, an hour. So if you're looking at my hair and you're thinking, what happened to her hair? Well, today I had my hair cut and colored, and she always does this off to the side. So I just, that's the way it is today. So let's get started. Okay, so I have a lot of different products out here in front of me. And the cool thing about the decorative masks is that they come with some ideas. So they give you paper with, and I just cut all the other foreign languages off and kept the English. They do give you like 5 different ideas, but sometimes when you read them and then you try to do them, sometimes it's harder. So I'm just going to actually show you the techniques and add some on. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is some easy technique. Okay, and we're going to take one of the masks. I think I'm going to use, I'll use this one. Okay, so I find it's easier if you tape it down, and I have some artist tape. So it's low tack artist tape, and it's not overly sticky, so it's easy to get off of your project. Okay. And what I'm going to do first is I am going to spritz it with a little spritzer. So these come 2 in a pack. And what I did was it's just water, and then I added some re-inker. I think this might be Bermuda Bay. Okay, so I'm probably going to make a little bit of a mess here. So I'm going to move some things out of the way. Okay, so I'm just going to spritz it. Sometimes they say do it with your thumb, but I like doing it with my hand. My finger. Okay, so this is water. You could actually, if you wanted to, you could put alcohol in here. Just regular rubbing alcohol. You can use 70%. I have 91%. I have found this at Walmart, I think. And they actually make 99% also, which is really good, but I think if you just have 91%, it works the best. But this is just a water base, water in the spritzer with about, 4 or 5 drops of re-inker to make, and you can make it as rich as you want or as, light as you want. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is peel this off. I'm letting it sit for a little while. Cool. Okay, so there is some blobbing, which I don't have a problem with. I mean, usually when you use a spritzer, you are going to get some extra, depending on, how hard you press on it, you're going to get some extra water that comes out in certain areas. So that being said, very cool technique, right? So you could either take a paper towel, blot that off, or you could just leave it dry. I might just let it dry like that. Okay, so there's one. All right. The next one I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use another piece of white cardstock. Okay, and now I'm going to use a different mask. I'm going to use this one and tape this down too. So you can reuse this tape, right? It's I'll probably get a little ink on my fingers. So I will look like I am an artist. Okay, so tape this down. So see, that tape is reusable. Okay, and now what I'm going to do is, oh, did I cut that a little too? Hang on a second. I want to move that over a little bit so it's fully in the mask. There we go. That's good. I don't want it to be crooked either. I kind of want it to be straight. I'm not crazy particular, but I'm a little bit particular. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I am going to use, let's see, what was I thinking? I was thinking now I would use a blending brush. Okay, so now I'm just going to do this technique. So I'm just going to pick up and I'm just going to sponge it with a blending brush. Okay, so if you have a blending brush, you can use that. If you have a sponge, you can do that. So the color I'm using is an in color called Tahitian Tide. Love this beautiful color. This is actually the color of my tumbler. So you can still order those tumblers. They're all 5 in colors. So it's kind of addicting. If you do order one, you might want to, it might be kind of like I have to have all the colors because there's 5 colors and they're $17 each. Okay. So I'm just going to lift this up so you can see it. Isn't that so beautiful? All right. And now I am going to put that off to the side and I'm going to do another one. Now with this one, I'm going to do the same thing. I might need to get some more white cardstock, but it's okay. Look at that. Fit in there just perfectly. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to ink it up again. And you see if you don't want blobs, really dark blobs on your cardstock, you want to tap it off. And you might think, well, that's wasting ink. Well, yes, but no. It makes this so much smoother, looks so much prettier. I'll show you what happens if you... And what's cool is with a blending brush, you can actually almost make it look, I can never think of what this word's called, where you make it light and dark. So I'm going to make darker at the bottom, and then it gets a little bit lighter as it goes up. Okay. Now before I'm going to close this because I don't want this water to go in here. So before I lift this up, I'm actually going to use another spritzer, and this just has plain water in it. Okay, so these are refillable, right? You just twist them off and fill them. Okay, and now what I want to do is I just want to spritz some water on here. And then, because this is water-based ink, it's going to lift up a little bit of the ink. And it's going to lift it up kind of in the spots. It's going to be very cool, I think. Let's try it. All right. Well, it didn't lift it up as much as I kind of wanted, but I think you get the idea. Can you see those blotches? Okay. We could lift up a little more, actually. Maybe I didn't let it activate long enough. Okay, so it's the paper is getting really wet now, but you get the idea. So the water actually lifts up the ink. So this one has a little bit different look because it's got those flecks coming out of it. All right, so there's another technique you can do. Okay, now let's try something different. I'm gonna actually, so I have a little thing of water over here. And I'm actually trying to clean these off so I can keep using them. Ooh, it's got a lot of color on it. Okay. Have some paper towels handy. So it's a little bit, these techniques are a little bit messy, right? They aren't like your average just stamp and let it dry techniques. good to have. I don't know if you have a sink nearby when you stamp, but if you don't, then just have a little bowl of water, a little plate of water. It's kind of what I have here for now. I mean, I don't want to get up and leave and go into the basin to clean these up. Okay, so now we are going to do something a little bit different, maybe a little more advanced. Okay, clean this off. So you can just clean these off. Just want to get the ink off of them because there obviously is a little bit of ink on here. All right. Okay, so this next technique is actually a little more advanced. So for this one, I'm going to use Starry Sky cardstock. So this is one of our in colors. And I am going to use this one, which is a plaid. All right, so I'm using the plaid. I think I messed that up, so I'm going to get another piece. Don't know why I tore it up, but I did. Okay. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to use Versamark. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to apply Versamark on top, and some of the Versamark is actually going to go onto the cardstock. Okay, we don't need it to be perfect, but we want it to be somewhat covered. So you want your Versamark pad to be a little bit juicy. You can re-ink your Versamark pads. Okay, so if you own a Versamark pad and it's dry, it doesn't matter if it's ugly, you can re-ink it. Okay. So now I am going to lift this up. So I have Versamark there, right? You probably can't tell too much yet. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use an embossing powder. I'm going to use copper embossing powder. All right, and I'm going to actually turn this so you can watch. Cover this with copper embossing powder. So it's sticking. Obviously, that's what we want it to do. Where there's Versamark. Oops. Okay. Move that out of the way. And now I'm going to use my heat tool. So your heat tool has two settings. Has low and high, 1 and 2. So you want to put it on 2. And you want to let it warm up a little bit. And then you're going to heat your embossing powder. And it takes a couple minutes for it to get hot. But once it does, and on this dark cardstock, this is going to be gorgeous. I don't know if I'm going to do the whole thing. There's a lot on here. I probably should have just done a section. Okay. So once you get the powder on the Versamark, there's no rush to heat it. The only rush is when you put the Versamark on. You want to get the powder on pretty quickly because the Versamark will dry on your cardstock. And that in itself is tone on tone. And it's very cool. But when you want your embossing powder to stick, you want to make sure that your Versamark is wet. So you want to pretty quickly get your powder onto your Versamark. Alright? And that's a rule of thumb for all embossing, not just this, but all embossing. We're basically making like a very cool background. Maybe even cooler than I thought it was going to be. So you could do this with any color on any colored cardstock. So what if we had like yellow cardstock, you know, like Daffodil Delight with black embossing powder? Okay. Or what if we had, you know, think outside the box. Okay, so I'm going to let that cool for just a second because it's pretty warm still. All right. So now, look at that. It's so cool. When it gets all shiny, you know that it's completely heated. You can go back and heat it, but if you touch it and it's not been heated, the powder will flick off and you'll basically won't stick again. Okay, so there is that technique. Ooh, I love that. Now, you do want to clean, I'm going to put this back in the jar. You do want to clean the Versamark off of your mask. And the perfect thing to do that is your mist. Just like that. And then rub it off. And that will take the Versamark off of your mask. You don't want to let that build up on there because it's sticky. So I want to make sure that that's clean. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Feels pretty clean. Might have get a little more off of it. Okay. All right. So there is another technique. I call that technique 4. All right. Now, what else can we do? Well, they talk about tracing. You can actually trace, but what's cool is this one mask here has like these openings, right? And they gave you the punched out pieces. So you could actually trace around. So let's do that. Let's trace around this. And I did not bring a marker over. Hold on a second. I need a marker. So use your Stampin' Right markers for this. So the Stampin' Right markers are dual tipped and one is very pointy. All right. So I'm going to use the Tahitian Tide and I'm going to use the pointy tip. And I'm just going to trace inside here. And you could either do it this way, like that, or you could lay this down and trace around it. Either way. All right. And then if you want to take a saying and put it in there, we're using Charming Sentiments now. Super Fantastic Mega News. With our Tahitian Tide ink. Ooh, very cool. All right. Now you could cut it out. You could just leave it that way on your card. You can do all kinds of things. You can do everything else over here and make a card out of that. All right. So those are very cool. This is the first time that we've ever gotten this type of a mask in our package. So I love that. All right. Okay. Next idea. We are going to, and this is a little messy, but this is one of my very favorite things to do, okay, is I'm going to use this mask again. I'm not going to do the whole thing, but I'm just going to show you this technique. So I've got that taped down. I want to make sure that that's straight in there. Okay, so we sell 2 different embossing pastes. This one is the shimmery white, and this one, it really lasts a long time. It doesn't dry out like the other one. Okay, so I store mine. I don't open it all the way. I just open it halfway, keep the lid on very, very tight, and I store it in a plastic bag, okay, because they will dry out once they're opened up. All right, so I haven't used this one in a while, but it is still nice and moist inside. So I'm just going to use our little spatula, and I'm just going to add a little bit of this. I'm not going to cover the whole thing purposely. I'm just going to do part of it and make it look kind of artsy. Okay, I think that's good. Now, you do want to clean that off quickly because this dries pretty fast. So you do want to clean your spatula, or whatever these little things are called. They come 3 in a pack. There's different styles. This one's my favorite. And you want to clean that off. And then you want to clean off your mask also. Oh, yeah. Okay, so now I'm going to put this in the water. So if you have a sink nearby, you want to wash this pretty quickly. I'm going to sit that down in the water. Keep it from drying on there. Once it dries on there, it's really hard to get off. Okay, can you see that? It's all shimmery and it's in that texture. So that's your texture paste technique. Now, you could also, when that's dry, you could also spritz over it, right? Or you could sponge over it. Or you could even do this. You could take, whoops, you could take your paste and you could add a little re-inker to it, like put it on your silicone craft sheet, a little blob of it, add a little drop of re-inker and make it a color. So you'd have shimmery, whatever color, and you can add that to your card instead of just plain. There you go. Okay, so nice and tight and store it sealed in a bag. That's just me. Doesn't say you have to do that, but that's just me. All right, so there's that technique. So I think what I'll do is, I think I will make some cards with these and I will present them to you over time. This one for sure. Wow, that almost looks Christmassy to me with the shimmer to it. All right, now what else can we do? Okay, let's do something with vellum. Wipe this off. I just get these cheap paper towels from like the dollar store for my craft room. Okay, I think maybe I'll flip this over in a second. I don't know what's on the other side. I'm afraid to look. No, it's fine. Okay, it's a little wet, but that's okay. All right, so I'm going to put some vellum down. Okay, now what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take my alcohol markers and I'm going to use the brush tip. I'm using 3 different of the in colors, the new in colors. Light Orchid Oasis. And I'm going to use the brush tip. Oh, so tight, and they have to be. And I'm just going to make stripes. Okay. And then I'm going to use our dark sweet sorbet. I'm using the side of the marker, not using the tip. I'm using the side so it doesn't destroy the tip. Then I'm going to use Tahitian Tide. Did I use light or dark? This is the dark, Tahitian Tide. So I'm kind of making a little bit of a rainbow here, but not really. You could make a rainbow very easily with all the different colors. Okay, then I'm going to go back. I'm going to use this one again. It's starting to curl up, and that's normal because we're getting it pretty wet. Doesn't have to be perfect, but you can see that I'm getting a lot of our ink on there. When you hear that pop, you know that the lid's on all the way, and that's what you want, right? So making a rainbow. I got one more color, so I'm doing 2 of each. Okay, all right. Then once that dries, okay, kind of have to let that alcohol dissipate. I am going to use, which one should I use? Well, we have this one. This is pretty cool, right? So now I'm going to use this. I think I'm going to pitch those and get some new ones because I think I got a little embossing paste on those. Okay, tape these down. Okay, now what I have in this spritzer is the alcohol, and I have it marked. All right, so I don't confuse it with the water one. So now what I'm going to do is, I think I might put a little more tape down. I want these sides to be taped down too, so this thing doesn't pop up. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is, I've got my paper towel ready. I'm going to spritz this. Okay, and let it work. Ooh, I like it. I might just let it go instead of, I was gonna actually take the paper towel and blot it, but I think I like it. So what it's doing now is it's actually moving that alcohol, those alcohol markers around our blends. So it's moving them around. Now let's see what happens if I take and blot a little. Oh, I like it. So now if I take my paper towel and I lift some of that ink up, wow, very cool. See, I've never done this technique before, but it just came into my head and I was like, wow, I think I like that idea. So it's kind of picking up the texture from the paper towel until it dries. Okay. All right. So now we're going to let that dry for a second. I'm just going to let that alcohol dry. It dries pretty quick. It's much faster than water. Okay. And then, let's see what it looks like. Oh, okay. So you can see the window pane pattern that stayed intact, and the blotching only happened in the openings, obviously. Okay, I love that. So cool. All right, so that's alcohol, the alcohol markers using rubbing alcohol to lift it. And actually the 91% works great. The 99% would even work faster and better, but this works great. Okay, so that's pretty stinking cool right there. Okay, so what else do we have here we could try? We could actually, there's another technique, but it might take, I'm thinking about using the pastels, okay? But I think that might make this video a little bit too long. So let's just go with this for now. We did a lot of different things. Let's look at some of the things we did. And this is not, oh, this is almost dry, not quite. Okay, so we did that. We did the outlining, which wasn't too hard. This might be one of my favorites. Okay. We did the spritzing over with water over the, we left the mask intact and then we spritzed it with water. Actually, if I had done it with a darker color, like maybe Starry Sky, and then spritzed it and then blotted it, would have lifted it up faster. Or if you use maybe watercolor paper or shimmery white paper instead of just basic white paper, because it soaks in so fast. The water soaks in so fast that I almost didn't have a chance for it to react. Okay, I like this one. This is just plain, you know, this using a blender blending brush. Okay, and you could do rainbow or anything with that. And this one, we did this. Beautiful. And then this one was very cool. This was our first one. Okay. So all I did with this one was I had a little re-inker in with some water, and you could do this with alcohol too. So there's that technique. I actually like this blobbing part. I know I'm weird, but that's what I like. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed this video today, and I hope you have a great weekend. I'll see you on Tuesday. Bye.